Welcome, everybody, to the
Hey,
second. That's right. We made it to the second episode of the NYS Halls of Fame podcast with your hosts, Rennie LaRue, Jeff Cohen, and I am Leonard Aberman. We are thrilled to welcome tonight two incredible guests, both members of the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. The first is Dom Scala. He's a baseball lifer. After playing in the minor leagues, he made the decision to become a coach. And in 1978, Dom earned a World Series championship with the New York Yankees while working as their bullpen coach. Dom's career is filled with honors and accolades, too many of which it's too many to list here. But as head coach of the Adelphi University Panthers from 2003 to 2021, he's seen dozens of his former players drafted or signed to professional contracts. His efforts for the Adelphi University Athletic Department has raised well over $1.5 million. The funding has built a new baseball field and the construction of for the Adelphi Panthers baseball team clubhouse in 2017. In 2019, Coach Scala had an unprecedented season, clinching his 400th win at Adelphi University and being named the Northeast 10 Coach of the Year. And in 2021, the highlight of his career was entering the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's just Tom Scala. Jeff, would you introduce our other guest?
My pleasure. Mike Pagliarulo was drafted out of the University of Miami in the sixth round of the 1981 MLB draft by the New York Yankees. His debut game on July 7th, 1984, he went 3 for 5 with an RBI and then was a starting third baseman for the New York Yankees, taking over from Tim Foley. A regular for the Yankees until he was traded to the San Diego Padres for the well-traveled player to be named later, and Walt Terrell. That player to be named later turned out to be Freddie Tolliver. He thinks the Padres got the better end of that deal. When he was a free agent, he signed on with the Minnesota Twins in 1991. Turned out to be a pretty good move because he was on that World Series winning team. Finished out his career with stints on Baltimore and the Texas Rangers. And in 2020 became a member of the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. Welcome, Mike Pagliarulo.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
It's
Ready?
so great.
Thanks
This
for
is
having me, guys. I got no more time left. No.
Hey, look, it's your fault, all right? If you had done nothing, okay, it would have been fast. Of course, you wouldn't have been on the show, but that doesn't matter. We welcome you guys. Let's start with Dom. Dom, we want to know what did it feel like when you became a member of the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame?
It was the highlight of my career, highlight of my life. You don't really feel it until the day that you're there, because the affair is so poignant and it's so grand. When you get up on that stage and you see your peers and you go in with guys like Cleon Jones and Bernie Williams and Mookie Wilson, it's unbelievable that you're mentioned in the same breath as these people. We all do our thing in the game for different reasons, different ways. So, as I say, I was just thrilled, and I'm still thrilled today. It's a big thing to say that I'm a New York State Baseball Hall of Famer.
Same question for you, Mike. Or we'll call you by your affectionate nickname, Pags.
That's fine, fine with me. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame was a great thrill for me and my family as well. Um, I've been fortunate that the path that I've been on, I've met so many great people, all the way from college ball up to the minor leagues. Had some great coaches, and the Yankees really started off for me a very nice career. And I had some great coaches, great teammates. Dom Scala being one of them, and you know, being in the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame is a huge honor. I never thought I would be honored for that, and to see the other names there, ecstatic. And my family was with me on that night, and on the induction, and it was very special to me, and still is, always will be. You know, you don't think about that stuff when you're a kid. When you're playing, you just want to play, and so, you know, this stuff afterwards, you know, it's hard to handle some of it because it's not expected. You know, sometimes it's a lot tougher than facing Nolan Ryan. But you know, it was a great thrill, and you know, I always remember it. And you know, now there's this camaraderie with all the other guys that are in there, and it's a pretty great connection, and we talk about it all the time. So when I run into them. But and I'm glad to see some of the other guys that were inducted last year. I think Donnie was inducted, and you know, it was a great tool for him as well. So, and I thank you very much, Randy.
Hey, Max, tell me how you met Dom.
Well, I met Dom when I got called up to the big leagues. He was in. I got called up, and actually the first game I played was in Minnesota, and Dom was there, and you know, I didn't say two words. I was kind of quiet, and you know, and I had all these big stars around me, and you know, Dom was always around. He's always, you know, involved in BP and everything, and you know, he was just a familiar guy. Being from the Northeast, I just, you know, kind of, you know, gravitated to him and Rick Cerrone, guys like that, you know.
Plus, we were Italian, of course, together. Of course.
And that made it a lot easier. But Dom and I speak the same language, and
yeah.
You know, and you know, the funny thing about the Yankees, which I didn't realize, was everybody had the same goal. You know, everybody wanted to win and play hard, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And then you know, and there was a different way to go about it when you're in the big leagues, but Dom was a key figure in keeping me straight and narrow.
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that, because, you know, when new guys came up, I always made it my business, you know, to go talk to them. And, you know, especially, you know, a guy like Pags, who we heard a lot about coming up, that he had a great glove, had some pop in his bat. We didn't know what we were getting. But, you know, Pags stood up to the test. I mean, he filled some tough shoes there, you know, with Greg Nettles and, you know, guys like that. And that's not easy, but you all remember him. He made some great plays in his career over at third base, hard-nosed, wasn't afraid to knock somebody down on the bases. And, of course, he had 150 lifetime home runs. He had some pop there, man. It's pretty good.
Yeah, he had a couple of his first one was off of Brett Saberhagen. I remember that.
Oh,
that's right. That's right.
Pretty good pitcher.
Good pitcher.
Pretty good. That's right. You know, some guys you see the ball good out of their hands. Some guys are a little tougher than others. But I was just looking for a fastball. And he threw right in there.
You got him 4 times.
Yeah, that's right. And, hey, look, following Nettles was not an easy task. I mean, you know, you kick one ball and then boom, bring back Nettles. But he was great to me. He really was. In spring training, my first spring training, he was there, and he was such a good guy, and helped me out a lot. You know, playing third base. You know, I had a way of playing, and he was a little different. But he, you know, went over the preparation and how you get ready to go to for the game, and the different ballparks you play in. You know, all the different things you never hear about. So he was, and he's a great guy. I appreciated, you know, every time I was around him.
You know,
Mike, was Dominic good to you?
I would say, yeah, yeah. But, you know, look, he's got some dirt on me, so I got to be careful what I say.
Yeah, you hesitated a little bit there.
Yes, of course. Nobody likes a rat.
What happens in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse.
Exactly.
You know, Dom.
It's great. We play golf today. You know, when I go to Florida, I immediately call Pags up. We're playing, you know, right away. If he comes to New York, we're playing down here. And, you know, like I said, we play the same game, and we play for, we play for a few stakes, you know, a few things. But you know what? We're always encouraging each other. We're always slapping each other 5 on great shots and so. And that's the makings of great friends, you know, that you want to be with them for 4 or 5 hours a day, you know.
Yeah, that team was close, right?
Oh, tremendous. We always had close teams. We always went out with each other, you know, different groups. And then even sometimes we would meet up with each other in the course of the evening, And I believe that it made all our guys more close-knit, okay, and play for each other more. I believe in that. I believe that even when I was coaching in college, I made sure my guys stayed together. Sometimes I had dinners for them if we were on the road, at the hotel. And then there were times I'd say to them, okay, guys, listen, I'm setting you up in a restaurant. Go over here, and 15 guys would go there. Maybe not everybody, but maybe 15 guys would go. But those are the core guys that are going to get everybody motivated and get everybody going. So I believe in that camaraderie. It's so important.
Dom, you mentioned college, and I'm going to take you back to your college days because I'm also a St. John alumni, and you played under Coach Kaiser and the great Joe Russo. So could you tell us about those college days of yours?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, I got so many stories about college. Jack Kaiser, one of my mentors, Joe Russo, another mentor. I was very fortunate to be under Coach Kaiser for a year and even go on a USA team with him. He taught me how to be patient. A ball player, you can't get too high, can't get too low. You have to be patient. You have to be even keel all the time. That's the difference between a pro player and an amateur player. And Michael will reiterate on that. He'll tell you the same thing. And as a matter of fact, this is our 50th anniversary this year that we won the 1976 ECAC championship, and they're honoring our team at the baseball banquet in February. So I'm going to see guys from 50 years ago that I haven't seen, and it's going to be so spectacular. I've been talking to them on the phones because I was one of the guys to put it together, and it's going to be just great. It's going to be just great. And I love St. John's. I'm still involved with the baseball. I still go to basketball games. So, I love it over there. And it's one of the most recognizable schools in the country, as you know. But, it's maybe not a Duke or a Michigan State, but St. John's is in that top level, of people. Which school did you go to? I went to St. John's. Oh, I know about St. John's, So I enjoyed it. I really did. 4 years, scholarship, got drafted there, broke records there, enjoyed the games, played against Rick Cerrone, Seton Hall in the playoffs to go to the College World Series. He beat me twice, the son of a gun. And but we tried to get those Seton Hall guys,
So we did.
Sorry,
I'm
Lenny.
sorry. We did Joe Panic this year, who won a World Series with the Giants. But Pags, you won a World Series with the Twins. Tell us what that was like.
When I was in San Diego, we had a good bunch of players, but the team was just kind of run funny. It was, we didn't know who was in charge at times, and it was just a mess. And so that year, the winter meetings, I decided to go to the winter meetings. So I was a free agent, and my wife was like, where are you going there by yourself? And I said, well, I just want to get the right people around me, because I know if I get the right people around me in the right environment, it's going to help me play better. So, and it's not the weather, it's not the place you live, it's the people you're around and the ballpark you're at. So I went on, I talked to Tony La Russa and Lou Piniella, who I loved, and and Tom Kelly. And when I met Tom Kelly there, he said, what are you doing here? I said, I just want to get some people around me that want to play and want to win. And, that's what I like. And I want to work. I want to get my work in. And so he's like, he says, well, I'd like to have that project. Well, 3 weeks later, they traded Gaetti, and I went to the Twins. And it was a group of guys that were very different, but all had the same, what I call we vision. They came to the park with one thing in mind, and that was winning that game. And we had a lot of fun. It was, it was relaxed, but boy, they got their work in, and we worked like dogs. And, we had a great manager, Tom Kelly. We had some great players, but we had I think Toronto had the most talent, but we had the best team, and the best teams win the World Series. And that's just because we played together better than anyone. And I didn't realize they were in last place the year before. I just thought it was a good bunch of guys. And we had, they got some free agents, Chili Davis, Jack Morris, and, a couple other guys. And, we had a good team. It was a good makeup. And we pushed each other, challenged each other. And the manager was a big part of that. And we had good coaches too. So, that's a big factor in playing. And we're pretty healthy the whole year. So we weren't too banged up, but but we had some big hits, timely hits, but we had pitching. We could play that defense, boy, and that really wins championships. So it was a real fun experience.
To tell you what, they had a hell of a team that year. They had guys like Kent Herbeck and Kirby Puckett and Mike, and they had Danny Gladden, I think, was on the team, right?
Chili Davis. Yep.
Oh my God, they had some. And you went into that Minnesota Metrodome over there, and some of the guys couldn't see the ball when it was hitting the air because of the roof. The roof was white, and we used to practice. I used to have to hit fly balls as high as I can to make sure that these guys could see the ball and track it the whole way, or else you lose that ball very easy. Then they had guys like, the lefties that can pop the ball in those seats, in those right field seats over there, So they were very, very tough, very, very tough team in that Metrodome. Wow.
Pags, what was it like to play with Kirby Puckett? Tell us about him. He, obviously passed away way too young, and Hall of Famer. But we don't hear about him as much in this region. And he was a great player. What was it like?
It's too bad. He's a fabulous person, a very generous guy, and very happy-go-lucky. Always laughing, always a smile on his face, always playing hard. And I remember this one time, and it was a good story. We were playing Oakland, and they were the team we had to beat. It was us two we had two divisions, and so it was in the middle of the season, like around end of June or something like that. And Puck gets up there and says second at bat. We're losing like 4-1, and he hits a one hopper back to the mound. And all of a sudden the pitcher gets it up and he throws to first, and Puck kind of like jogs down to first base. Well, he turns around and comes back in. He doesn't make it to first. He turns around and comes back in and bat out of the rack. And Tom Kelly's sitting right there. And he said, "Hey, Puck," he said, "looked like you're a little tired. Couldn't run that one out, huh?" He said, "Why don't you go upstairs and take a shower or something?" He goes, No, I'm okay. So he sits down. The pitcher throws the next pitch, and TK, he walks halfway down the bench. He turns to Puck and he said, "Hey, Puck, you're too tired to run that ball out. Why don't you go upstairs and take a shower?" He goes, No, I'm all right now. Everyone's got his attention, right? And they're going, "What the hell is he doing?" And all of a sudden he goes to the end of the bench, Tom Kelly did, and the pitcher throws one more pitch, and he said, "Puck, you're too tired to run it out. Now go on upstairs and take a shower." Well, Puck felt so bad. He went upstairs. It was about the fourth, fifth inning, and he felt on upstairs. The way that Tom Kelly manages was really cool because it affected everybody on that bench. And we lost the game 6-1. We walk up the stairs, and there's Puck. He's in his full uniform, tears in his eyes, hugged everybody, apologized to everybody. We're like, "You don't have to apologize. Don't do that." And then he hugged Tom Kelly, and they, after that game, the Twins made it a policy that anybody in the organization that doesn't run the ball out and touch first base to get taken out of the game. Well, you should have seen us play after that day. It was unbelievable. If you bobbled the ball in the outfield, we were the most aggressive base runners in baseball. I swear to God, we were running balls out. The ball goes in the gap. We're taking the extra base. We're scoring from second. It was incredible. And I think it was because of that one incident that we felt so bad for Puck, who's that's not him, And it was just one of those plays that were just weird. And Tom Kelly took advantage of it, and it was great for the entire team. But Puck could handle that. That you have to have. You can get on a player, but a player has to give you some feedback, and he has to react the right way. And Puck did, of course. Jack Morris did also. Jack was the kind of guy that was, he'd stomp around the mound if a guy made an error or something like that. I remember one time Tom Kelly pulled him in the back hallway and, "Don't you stay on that dirt. These guys are out there practicing every day for you. They don't say anything when you knock a ball out of the ballpark on you. So just, get on there and throw strikes." And so he did, so that's the kind of team we had that guys you could get on them and you could challenge them, but they'd always come back and they'd be better. And that's good managing, that's good playing, that's good reaction, and that was a really good team. I think that's something that, Tom Kelly has to pick those kind of guys, and he did. And and Puck was just super. He was, he's clutch, a great outfielder, great base runner, strong as an ox, and just a fun guy. Great to be around all the time.
Tom Kelly was one underrated manager in the history of the game. I mean, he won about 3 championships, but he demanded respect and he gave respect back. And I believe that he had that fire inside him. Once in a while, he would get pissed off, right, Mike? I mean, you get pissed off. He got pissed off. I remember He was very stoic in the dugout. But then you piss him off, man. He came out like a Billy Martin. You know what I mean? Where
He was,
kicking that dirt and spitting chew in your face. You know what I mean? That type of a guy. You know.
He was a lot like Billy. He didn't yell as much as Billy, but he was a lot like Billy.
Well, I was going to say that, Mike.
I believe
he got that rule from Billy about not running stuff out. You know, you don't run stuff out with Billy, you're going to hear about it, no doubt.
That's right.
No
exactly.
doubt.
And those guys, those managers like that, good managers. And I was fortunate. I played for 5 managers that managed World Series champions. And Tom Kelly and Billy Martin and Lou Piniella, Jack McKeon, and Dallas Green. I mean, these guys, although he didn't do very good in New York, but these guys, they saw the field better than everybody. They could see the field differently. They see what's going on. Billy and Tom Kelly, the ball goes down that side of the field. They know what's going on that side. They know what's happening. They can anticipate better than everybody else, and they know how to do matchups. It wasn't, percentages. Well, it was percentages, but it was also instinct. It was a gut instinct also. Experience, so-called.
Let me say this thing here to you. So one time, and, I always say to myself, Mike, and guys over there, I found myself that when I was on the field, I managed like Billy. I had these expressions and all kind of stuff. I'm not kidding you. I just felt that way, right? So one day this guy don't run the ball out, right? He's going like 50% around the bases. I called him in and I said to him, let me ask you a question. I said, how much time do you have for your next at bat? When do you think you're gonna hit? He said, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour. I said, and you can't run the friggin' ball out every half hour? You can't run it out? What the hell are you doing here then? I said, it's a simple fact. If you're not getting up for another half hour, you can't run the ball out for me? Sit down.
Doesn't take a lot of talent to run it out.
That's exactly it. Don't take talent to hustle. Correct, Mike.
So what I want to know is, Pags, when Dom comes down, do you take him out for Italian food? What do you eat? What do each of you order? And who pays the check? And then when you go to New York and Dom takes you out, what do you order in New York and who pays that check?
When he comes down here, he eats the best Italian food in the world, and that's right here in my house.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Karen's the best. That's right. Let me tell you.
Truth.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. We used to have a nickname for, I told Mike this, this last trip that we took. We used to have a nickname for Greg Nettles. We used to call him Puff. And the reason why we called him Puff, because he'd be out with us. We'd all be hanging out, drinking, whatever. And then all of a sudden, somebody'd say, where's Nettles? And he's gone. So Goose gave him the nickname of Puff because he puffed away, So Mike, when we play with Mike and we're going to go out afterwards, he's always saying to me, Dom, I got to get home. Karen cooked for me, this and that. Yeah, I said, I can't come. I got to go meet somebody. I can't come with you. So now I'm starting to call him Puff because he's puffing out on us.
Dom, I got to ask you about the Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium. I mean, when those guys come in, when Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle come back and Whitey Ford, tell us some of those stories that happened in those clubhouses.
Oh man, we were in awe. First of all, let me just say this to you. You weren't allowed to approach Joe DiMaggio for an autograph. Did you know that during Old Timers Day? That was like a no-no. Everybody was told, don't ask Joe for an autograph. So, of course, Dom doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? And I got 2 autographs from him, one on the ball and one on a picture from my father-in-law, who's 98 years old. Had this picture of him swinging a bat, almost like a stencil picture, beautiful picture. And he put his signature on it. Joe DiMaggio, beautiful, not like today where you don't know who the hell's signing anything, beautiful penmanship, Joe DiMaggio on the ball. But my biggest thing was sitting on the bench, and I have a photo of it here in my gallery, okay? And of course you see the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame stuff right up here, right, Rennie? Right behind me, okay? That's my little shrine right there. Anyway, so who am I sitting next to? And I got a picture of this, okay? Joe DiMaggio, me, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra and Bill Dickey. And Phil Rizzuto is standing up in front of us talking to us. And I'm like in the middle of all these guys. I'm saying, wow, what a picture. I never got it signed, of course, but I have it right here in my gallery. And to me, then I took another one with those same guys, with Pete Sheehy, who was the infamous Pete Sheehy clubhouse Hall of Famer. I wish we could put him in the Hall of Fame, but he's not around.
That's unbelievable.
It was great. All-timers day. And in those days, as you know, they didn't play Yankees against Yankees. They played Yankees against the All-Stars.
Right.
So Willie Mays would be on the other side, Carl Erskine, Sandy Koufax, Willie Mays, Duke Snyder. All the guys would be right there in the batting cage. I mean, 1978, 80, before you, Mike. Do you remember that, Mike? Do you remember when those guys came in?
No.
No, because when you came, that's when they started doing the Yankee thing. They switched it.
Yeah.
But
Mike, you got beaten up by Mickey Mantle?
Yeah.
What's that?
Hey, that was my best day. It was my best day in the big leagues. You kidding me? I told that story. Rennie knows the story. That was my best day. Of my first old timers day. When I showed up, I thought I was late from practice or something. I showed up and I walked into the clubhouse, and you get to see your pinstripes, and these guys are laughing and they're joking and they're having the best time in the world. It's so loud. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are living legends. They're all there. Everywhere.
Yeah.
And I go back to my locker, and in my locker, Joe DiMaggio. He goes, "Hey, Pags, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God, he knows my name. How the hell does he know my name?"
That's great.
I don't know. And he's standing there, and he's all in his suit and everything. And I said, "Mr. DiMaggio, you mind if I get?" "No, go right ahead. Hey, I like the way you play, kid. Keep up the good work." I'm like, "Oh my God," I couldn't believe it. And then Billy and Mickey come walking into the clubhouse, and everyone kind of quiets down when Mickey shows up. And, "Hey, Billy, is that the guy back there in the corner?" "Yeah, that's him." And then Donnie was right next to me. I said, "Donnie, they're looking at you." He goes, "No, they're looking at you." I said, "What do they want with me?" And then Joe DiMaggio says, "What'd you do, kid?" I went, "Oh my God." Well, every old timer was now looking at me, and I was sweating, probably white as a ghost. And here comes Mickey Mantle. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know whether Thurman Munson's locker by accident. Or I don't know what to do. My first time, I was only up 3 weeks or something. And then here he comes. He grabbed me by the neck, and he drags me across the room into the training room, starts punching me. And I'm blocking punches. I don't dare hit him. And Billy's there laughing. He goes, "Hey, kid, how you doing?" He goes, "Look, I'm Mick." He goes, "I like the way you play. Keep up the good work. Here's my number. If you need anything, give me a call. Welcome to the family." And I went, and Billy goes, "How you doing?" "I'm Billy." I went, I couldn't talk. And I told Bill Madden afterwards, who wrote the story, he was getting everyone's favorite day. He said, "Pags, that was your favorite day?" I said, "I had no idea who we played or if I played, but that was my best day ever."
Wow.
It was really something else. And they were all really, all those guys, they were so, they had a lot of fun, but they all were classy guys, and they all talked about winning. And they treated me great. I was so fortunate, to just be part of that.
What's a great story. I was in the outfield shagging flies during batting practice, and who's in the outfield? Jim Bouton. And it was right after he did the book.
Oh,
A couple of years after he did the book. Nobody was near. Nobody went around him. Nobody was, and he just happened to be shagging next to me. And we kind of almost ran into each other. And I said, "Hey, how you doing, Jim?" And he says, "Oh, thanks for talking to me," he said, "because nobody else is talking to me. I'm glad you didn't run into me because you're a big guy." Yeah. I mean, it was amazing back then. Old Timers Day was a present for all the Yankees. And, we were all out there with them. And like Mike said, they're in our lockers and walking around. Whitey Ford, I remember, he goes, "Hey, kid, go get me a couple of beers, will you?" It's like 10 o'clock in the morning, you know what I mean? And he's drinking 2 beers. I wound up becoming a good friend of Whitey's because I wound up being a member of a country club that he was a member of, and he was one of my co-signers. How do you like that? How do you like that? I actually played golf with him several times. He brought Mickey Mantle to the club many a time. I remember.
Wow. Pags, you had added pressure. So not only are you playing third base for the New York Yankees, but you're playing third base in place of, he's a legend with the Yankees, and that's Nettles.
Yeah.
What is it like, and do you feel all that added pressure taking over at third base?
I felt pressure before I played, maybe afterwards, but not while I played. Although if I kicked one or one get by me or something like boo boo, bring back Nettles, if I throw one line, that was always there. But that's part of the business, But I know that when I was in spring training with him, I would talk to him a lot, and he would talk to me actually, and he liked the way I did my work, and we talked a lot about third base because he was passionate about it too, and he was such a great player. And we're both left-handed. And one day I told him, I asked him, I said, I see you hitting every ball the other way. I thought you were a pull hitter. He goes, I can't go this way unless I go that way, the right way first. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know anything about hitting. I just swung the bat, and he was just, there was a science to it. And on defense, he said, before, when you get to the ballpark, the first thing, check the ballpark, the stadium, see where the wind's blowing. I do that all the time anyways, but, we see how far you can get over to balls and all that other stuff, which is really cool stuff, stuff that nobody talks about. You say take your grounders, but he talked about the things, communicating with the other infielders, and one time, I was kind of throwing the ball a little wild, and I was asking him some help. I said, how can you just flip that ball? You throw like a lollipop over there to first. It gets there just in time. He goes, look, you're playing in a box, right? He goes, I know where first base is all the time. He goes, here's the box. It's a big square. He goes, if I catch the ball right here, I don't even have to look. So he catches one, he throws it at first, and we never even looking. And he hits the first baseman right here. And then he gets one over here. He goes, I catch it here. I know where he is. Boom, and he throws it. And I went, what the heck? He was throwing it without even looking, hitting the first baseman all the time. But he said, all you got to do is set your feet up to throw it. And we went on from that and talked about that, which you don't hear that stuff in college or in the minor leagues. You just don't. I mean, the guys in the big leagues, the other guy I talked to often was Brooks Robinson, and we played the Orioles every year at Miami, University of Miami. And so Ron Frazier, our coach, the great Frazier, he said, hey, Pags, come here. I know you're having a little trouble with that bunt play. Go talk to that guy over there. I'm like, all right. I didn't know who the guy was. Mr. Robinson, how you doing? I'm like, he's, oh, yeah, nicest guy in the world. He taught me in 1 minute how to make the bunt play and how to practice it. In 1 minute. I mean, how come nobody else knows this stuff, I mean, the knowledge that they have and the things that they talk about is so different than everywhere else I've been. And it's the highest level and the best players in the world, I guess. And they have this knowledge that's just unique and very, very helpful when they can communicate it with you the right way. And that's where you learn, basically. That's where you learn from other teammates. And if you're lucky enough to get a good coach, that helps you out a lot too. But
hey guys,
it was great.
I gotta run. I'm really sorry, but what you're talking about, Mike, is simple fundamentals. That's what he taught you. The simple fundamental, very, very simple way to do it, and it works. Just like we teach the kids today. But I want to say, guys, thank you so much for having me. I am really sorry I have to cut this short. I got to get on another meeting. That's very important. I think I told you guys.
Yes.
So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year to all you guys. I love you all. And Pags, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And Rennie, thanks very much for everything. Lenny, Jeff, always great to see you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Dom. Yeah. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Pags, do you still live near Bucky Dent? Pags?
I think he froze up. I think Dom leaving made him freeze.
Yes.
That's the reaction.
There he is.
Dom must have screwed up my computer. What happened, Dom?
There he is.
All right. I'm back.
Did you hear what Rennie asked you?
No.
Do you see Bucky much? I know he lives near you.
Bucky, I see him. I saw him at Yogi's tournament, and I see him during spring training. So I see him, now and then throughout the year, about 3-4 times a year. He's still great, and talks about, it's great because you run into these guys. We don't talk any different than we did when we were younger. And I played with Bucky when I was in AAA. He was coming down, he was rehabbing and trying to get back to the big leagues. And we talked about, the glove that we use and, different angles to play at short and third and, really great stuff. So it's always good to talk to him about stuff. He's got great input. And, I wish the Yankees would listen to him a little bit more. So, because he knows how to play defense.
Pags, Kirby Puckett versus Mattingly. Who was a better hitter?
A better hitter? A better hitter. They were both great hitters. I think the question is who do you want up with the game on the line?
Right.
And then I would say 23. Donnie's a guy that he gets compared to a lot of people out there, and it's really difficult to compare careers, But there are certain things you can pinpoint about Donnie, which he does very, very well, and that's hit with the game on the line, hit when you need a hit. And he can hit pitches out of the strike zone. So can Puck, but Puck will chase a little bit more than Donnie. If they're not going to pitch to him, they can get Puck out by chasing. Donnie won't chase as much. He'll hit. Donnie would be the guy with the game on the line. I don't care who the player is. I mean, the most talented athlete I saw on the field was Bo Jackson. The guy with the most tools was Griffey Jr. And the best clutch player was Donnie for sure.
Pags, toward the end of your career, you played with Ivan Rodriguez, who a Hall of Fame catcher. I mean, did you know at 23 years old when he started that he was going to be the I-Rod?
You know what? Pudge was a great catcher. What I couldn't believe was how durable he was. I mean, he would get banged up. He didn't want a day off. He wanted to play every single day. And he played through small injuries and he played every day in the heat in Texas. And I couldn't believe his durability and how strong he was. I mean, and a good guy too. He always wanted to win. Talk about winning a lot and how we're going to win this game. And it didn't matter how he was hitting. He always could contribute offensively or defensively, and that's what good players do.
Mm-hmm. And do you realize you also played with? You played with Dave Valley, but he also is a member of the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. Did you know that?
Is he really? I saw him last year, and I played with Val in Texas, and I also played with Val in the Winter League in Dominican, which I don't even know if they're going to have that anymore. Some new rules that just came out or something. But Val's a good guy too. He does a nice job doing his commentating and everything. He's doing really good. He's a New York guy.
Yeah.
We speak to a lot of people who get traded to the Yankees, and the thrill of going to a franchise like the Yankees is unbelievable. But you were just the opposite. You played for 5 seasons with the Yankees and get traded to San Diego. What was that feeling like when you get traded from such an esteemed franchise like the Yankees to I mean San Diego? Don't get me wrong, great franchise, but not the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, playing for the Yankees teaches you a lot of things. And, a lot of people love coming over to the Yankees and they say that they're, the Yankees, this and that, but I was born a Yankee. So I feel like, I feel very proud of that. I'm very proud of that. And I'm glad that it worked out that way. And I'm glad that nobody else drafted me because I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned. I wouldn't have the experiences that I had. And, when you the Yankees, they don't trade their core players. We had a different manager. He wanted to bring new guys in, and the year before, I wasn't playing that well at the time, and so they were able to make that trade. But I was very fortunate, and I wouldn't change a thing. I didn't like being traded. I felt terrible about it. It was an awful feeling because I loved being from the Northeast, and I love playing there in New York. I'm very comfortable there. And there were a lot of people that were supportive. Everyone from grounds crew guys to the team medical staff and people who worked at the stadium and Mr. Steinbrenner, a lot of people say a lot of things about him, but he, I wouldn't want to play for anybody else. He wanted to win. And there aren't that many guys out there that want to win. I mean, he wants to win. He wants to be the champion every year. And that was a great thing to be part of. And I knew that right away. So he was a very generous man, and I'm very proud that I played for them, and I'm glad I did what I did for them. So, I wish we could have won in New York. That would have been super.
What do you think was missing? What was the missing ingredient from the team?
I'd say another starter. We needed another starter. We kept changing our shortstop. Our defense was pretty good. I mean, Ricky Henderson was one of the best outfielders. He was a great outfielder. Dave Winfield was a great right fielder. We had Gold Gloves in the outfield, and Willie Randolph, Donnie, and I played third. At shortstop, we're a little weak, I think. I think we were looking for one, but we had Andre Robertson come up, but he got that injury, that car accident, which kind of messed things up for the future of the Yankees. And then Jeter came along, which solidified everything. You know, you have to have a middle of the diamond solid. You have to have a good defense right up the middle. We had it on the outside. We didn't have it up the middle as much. But a starting pitcher probably would have been very helpful, because it seemed like we were missing that one guy that could, you know, throw a ball in the strike, have a swing and miss pitch in the strike zone. You know, Gator was great. Gator was at the end of his career. And when Tommy John was, you know, he's what he is. You know, he's a middle rotation guy, and we had a few of those guys, but we didn't really have a number one in his prime. That would have been like a Garrett Cole. You know, that would have been special. You know, that's those are games that we would win, and we'd look forward to. Like Jack Morris when he came to Minnesota. You know, he's a number one, and when you have a number one on your staff, that transcends all throughout the pitching staff, the bullpen, and the defense. So, and that's how you win games. So I guess that's what I would think. Because we had a good club offensively. We could score some runs and all that, but it was just, I think maybe we needed one more pitcher, you know. And it's too bad, you know. I saw Dave Rigetti this past year. You know, he came over to the East Coast, and I saw him, and you know. And there's a guy that throws a no-hitter, and all of a sudden he's in the bullpen, and that shows you how unselfish he was. You know, I mean, and I think you think about it. You know, at the time I didn't know any different. You know, I just figured. You know, I only saw him as a bullpen closer, but he was a really good starter, and you know, and he had flip-flops. So that's, I think, showed weakness in their staff that they had, a pitching staff that they had. They could have used maybe one or two more guys that way.
Pags, there's a story that may be rumor and it might be fact, and it might have even been Ron Guidry that told me this. He said before they called you up, they had a black hole at third base. They had guys that couldn't make a play, and Guidry got so furious that they kept blowing games that he marched into Billy's office and he said, "I want the kid Pags in the minors. I want him up here now." Is that true?
I found out later that when he was pitching, you know, he had Greg Nettles playing third base for him, and he throws a lot of sliders and the fastball, and the right-hand hitters hit a lot of ground balls at third base. And he felt like he was playing with a Swiss cheese over there at third base. And he went into Yogi and said, "Hey, bring that kid up and catch the ball in spring training. we need to get him up here." So the next day, I guess I was called up. But that is a true story. I became Gator's bartender and personal bodyguard.
Personal bodyguard.
Yeah.
Pags,
in 1994, you went over to Japan. Could you tell us about that experience?
Well, actually, I was in Baltimore, and I played very well in Baltimore. And, you know, I thought I was going to sign there. Actually, Roland Heeman, the GM, called me up. He said, "Look, we need a 2-year deal." I said, "Great, I'll sign it." He goes, "Well, you don't even know how much it's for." I said, "I never had a 2-year deal. I'll sign it." He said, "No, we got to put a freeze on all the contracts because we're changing ownership." And Angelos took over. And so all that process took a long time. And I'm sitting at home. I'm going, "Wait a minute. I played really good here, and they want me to play there." And they didn't you know, all of a sudden this Japanese contract come in, and I said, "Boy, just put my kids to college and everything." So I ended up doing that deal, and realized that in '94 they had that was the strike season or the lockout, whatever it was, and so we were the only World Series out there, and so it was Yomiuri Giants against our team, the Cebu Lions. Danny Gladden was on the other team, and Henry Cotto, the other Yankee, a Yankee, who played for Yomiuri. And I was in the Cebu Lions, and the Giants beat us in 6 games. So they're the only team that won a series that year.
Leonard?
I'm sorry, Jeff. I thought you were following up. I lost my train of thought. I apologize.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was in Japan. Japan was great, and I'll tell you a story. When I first got over there, you know, a lot of guys go over there, and some of the guys go over there, they complain. Some guys buy into the system, and you should, because it's their country, it's their baseball, it's all that stuff. So we're in spring training. Our team owner was the richest guy in the world before Bill Gates. Last name was Tatsumi. They called him God. And so we own all these Prince hotels, all the railroads and cabs and everything. And so we're in Maui doing the month of February, just conditioning practice. And so every morning we go out at 7 a.m. and we all had our blue sweatsuits on. And we get in a big circle. We did all this stretching and everything. And in the middle of that, 3 guys would come running out to the center of this circle of about 60, 70 guys. And they start screaming, "Ohayou gozaimasu." And they'd speak formal Japanese, good morning. And I'm going to give my commitment this year. And they profess what they're going to do for the team this year. And so they did that 3 days in a row. And I guess they were going to do it every day. So I told my interpreter, I said, "Look," I said, "Kota," I said, "I need to do that." He goes, "What?" I said, "No, I need to do that." He goes, "How the hell are you going to do that?" I said, "Look, tell me what they're saying. I'll tell you what I want to say. You write it down in Japanese. I'll memorize it, and I'll do it." He said, "It'll take me about a week or 2. He goes, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we're going to tell the manager." I said, "Okay." Well, 2 weeks pass, and I get out there and I do my thing, and I swear to God, I wish there was a camera or something, but there was no cameras. And I'm there in my yelling in Japanese. I'm saying, "Ohayou gozaimasu," and I forget exactly what I said, but I want to be a very productive player and help the team win this and that. And then nobody claps or anything. Everyone just kind of quiet. And so we all finished stretching and we walked back in. And as soon as I did that, we were walking back in, and one of the Japanese guys, one of the captains of the team, they had a couple of guys captains, and they tapped me on the shoulder. They said, they tapped my interpreter. They say, "Hey, ask him if he wants to go have a beer tonight." So they, they took me out, and after that, I was like in with the team, and I felt, this is their baseball team. You play the way they play, and so you buy into that instead of guys coming over there and complaining all the time. "Oh, it's not like MLB or whatever." Well, you can't do that. You got to play the game, and what I thought was I'm just going to go there, try to make myself better. And just play, and then they appreciate that, and it really worked out well that way because it's a different culture completely, the other side of the world, and you actually can appreciate it more and enjoy it more, and you can understand it better. So and I made a lot of friends over there, and when I was coaching, when I was a head hitting coach from the Marlins, I had Ichiro, who I played against. He was a rookie when I played against him. Matsui also, he played for the Giants, and Ichiro played for Orcs Blue Wave. So I would tell Ichiro, he goes, "I remember you. I remember you." But Ichiro he was a talented guy, boy. He was really good. But it was a great experience. I took my family over there. I put my kid in school over there even. Yeah. So it was a good experience.
Is it a hard decision though to move your whole family to just up and go to Japan to play?
When you don't have any other offers, it's not that tough. If I told the Orioles, they said, "Look, just give me half. Just give me half of what they're offering." They said, "We can't do anything. We can't do it. You're going to freeze on all the contracts." So they went ahead and signed Bobby Bonilla, who I think they're still paying.
Well, the Mets are still paying him, that's for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Someone's paying him.
Oh, yeah. Bobby Bonilla Day. It's funny, Pags. We went to... Jeff and I went to Kansas City, and we went to a game at Kauffman Stadium. And you think, I mean, it's Kauffman Stadium. It's American League, nothing to do with the Mets. And there was somebody there who was wearing a jacket, and it said, "Happy Bobby Bonilla Day."
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Pax, I'm curious about Anthony Volpe. It seems that he's been a little bit of a slide the last couple of years, not only at bat but in the field. Do you still see him as the Yankee shortstop of the future? I mean, what do you think about Volpe?
Well, he's a talented guy, and he can do some things out there. It's tough to give an opinion about a guy who you're not with every day. If I'm with him every day, I'd know. But if I just as a observer looking on, I say, my question is, why the heck is he pulling the ball so much? He wants to pull every ball he hits, and he's trying to pull everything. And that's the last thing that I would want him to do. I'd want him to get on base, steal some bases, get at bat, stay in there, draw a walk every once in a while. Do like Jeter did, play the ball back in the zone, hit the ball the other way. Do that, okay, and play good defense, and you got a job there for a long time. If you don't do that, you're going to be in trouble because, shortstops, they have to play defense first. If you get the hitting part, that's a bonus. Not many people like that. Not many in the league like that. Play defense first. That has to be number one because defense wins. That's what I see. I see, and I don't know if the bats are affecting his defense. And that's one of the things that are very important when you call a guy up is how does he handle offers? You know what I mean? If he makes outs, does he take it on the field with him? I was a little different. When I made it out, I get pissed off, and I went out to third base. I'm saying, if I don't get a hit, nobody's getting a hit. So I played better defense when I didn't hit. But I just wanted to I want to catch everything. And some guys get in their head and they end up reacting just a tick slower on defense, and that's a big impact. And it shouldn't really happen on championship clubs. It shouldn't happen. So I think maybe he's got to mature through that. But I don't know him personally. I don't know if he's tried to make that adjustment. And then he had some surgery in the offseason also, I think. I don't know if that was affecting him or whatever. So, it's a tough call. But, I mean, if I was a coach, I would say, look, man, I said, I don't want you to hit anything to the left side of the shortstop. I want you to hit everything up over there on the other side of the field in spring training. Just do that.
Do you know Aaron Boone?
Huh? Aaron Boone? I do. Yep.
Do you like him? I mean, do you think he's the guy? I mean, he's so different than Billy or Tom Kelly.
Yeah.
Where do you see him as a manager?
You know what? Managing today, I think, is a little bit different. A lot of things are run from the front office, which is unusual. I don't. When I say that, I mean you don't get to see a guy manage a lot of times because the calls are made from the front office. So, what kind of manager do you have? I mean, I think Aaron Boone's a good guy, and I think he knows the game, and he knows how to handle people, and maybe that's why he's there. But some decisions are made, by front office, and I don't know how you can make those decisions if you're not on the field, because you can see commitment on the field. You can see when someone's locked in. I can see when Manny Ramirez takes a pitch. Oh God, don't throw it over the plate today. Just by the way he took a pitch, or when a guy comes in and he's committed to throwing, when he knows how to finish a pitch. Oh, this guy means it. He's got his good stuff today. And I don't know how you can tell that from the front office, and that makes it more difficult to manage. And so, I don't know what he has, what his where his leverage is, or what he gets to call and when he doesn't get to call. So, I'm sure he wants to do things his way. He's the manager. He should do things his way. But, there's always this collaboration, and sometimes it's more of no, you're doing it this way. You have to do it this way. And, that's how they do things, some teams.
Pegs, as a player, do you think the steroid guys should get to Cooperstown?
That's a good question. You know what? It's a tough question. I'll tell you what. A couple things. Number one, Danny Gladden, a good teammate of mine in Minnesota. He does radio for the Twins, and he asked me one day. This was like the year 2000, 2001, something like that. And so I was in spring training in Fort Myers, and Danny was on the field. We were there early bat practice. He goes, "Hey, remember, what kind of team we had?" He said, "We were all together, and this and that." He goes, "Would you do the steroids if everybody else was doing it on the team?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Really?" I said, "No, I wouldn't do it." I said, I remember Lyle Alzado and this and that. I said, "But I wouldn't do it." He said, "All right, go home, sleep on it, come back here tomorrow. I'm going to ask you the same question." I said, "Okay." Well, the next day I went back there, and he goes, "Well, what do you got?" I said, "I'd do it." And he goes, "Tell me why now." I said, "Well," I said, "number one, if all you guys are doing it and I'm not, and I'm up with the game on the line and I fail, I'm going to feel really bad. I'm going to feel this terrible guilt that I wouldn't feel normally." I said, "That's number one." I said, "Number two, if the guy on the mound, Matt Whiteside or something, that I own this guy, all of a sudden he's blowing the ball by me. I gotta do it now to keep up with him." I said, "That's the second reason." The third reason, the guy in AAA is knocking balls out of the ballpark. I'm going to lose my job if I don't get on it. So I said, "Yeah, I'd have to take it." I never took it. I said, "Now I have guilt. I didn't even take it." So, but to answer the question, and that's really a lot of players feel that way. And if you're gonna make it so it's a steroid era, make sure everybody was taking it, because it's not fair to the guys that didn't. Because some guys were trying to just play, and maybe they weren't healthy enough to take it. I don't know enough about the drug, but it's tough to draw comparisons to other players who could have been just as good, could have hit as many homers, but we're never going to know that, and that creates a problem. And they didn't think of that when they took the steroids, and because they didn't think about it. Well, that's just how it is. But that's really the truth of it. Is it really costs a lot of people some jobs, and it made it exciting for some guys. In some games, it was really exciting. And seeing that home run race was a lot of fun. But what about those other guys that could have taken it, who could have been involved too? Those guys kind of get messed. They get screwed in the deal, I think, because there was an offer to everybody. Offered to everybody, and the teams knew what was going on. They knew what was going on in the clubhouse. I mean, I went to the Yankee clubhouse one time, and I'm not a small guy. I felt like a peanut compared to some of these guys. Their shoulders are this big, and their arms. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell's going on here? And that's just how it was. But you'd probably have to keep up if you were doing it or not play. So it's a very difficult question, and it's one of those things that'll linger on forever, and because it was never really resolved, and it was never really addressed. Actually, when it came about, it was swept under the rug, I think. And that's too bad. That's too bad because all those guys, they were good players anyway. They were good players anyway. Yeah. But I mean, people have their own opinions about it, and I don't know if I'd let them in the Hall of Fame or not if I was voting. But I would have to say, what if Manley took steroids and it made his back better? You know what I mean? He could have been definitely in the Hall of Fame easily, right? But he didn't. So. So where do you go with it? It's just one of those things that are never ending. It's one of those questions that are lingering. Rennie, I don't appreciate that question, but I do because it's really not talked about. You know what I mean? And it should be talked about, but it's not really talked about in locker rooms anymore. And now they test you for just about everything. My gosh. Some guy when I was coaching with Pittsburgh, Clint Hurdle told me one time he ate a candy bar and he was tested positive. He really ate a certain type of candy bar or something like that. I'm like, what the heck is that all about? So I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Pags, a lot of players hit 2 home runs in a game, but you did one a little differently. You hit a home run off Dan Petrie. It was an inside the park home run, and then a couple of innings later, you hit a home run off over the wall. So that was a little different.
Yeah. Talk about that. Tony Phillips was playing left field, and I'm like, oh, now I got to keep running. He dove, he went into the railing, and the ball kept rolling, so I had to come around. I was exhausted after that run. But that was good. That was good. That was a tough park to hit in. You think it's a left-hand hitted ballpark, and that completely the opposite thinking. You know what I mean? But that was good. But I haven't been to the new ballpark yet, but I heard it's fabulous.
Yeah, so you hit one in the 3rd inning off of Dan Petrie inside the park home run, and then 2 innings later you hit one over the right field wall. Yeah.
Yep.
Not too shabby.
That one I hit was legit.
Yeah.
Pags, what was it like to face Nolan Ryan?
I used to impersonate him as a kid playing stickball, and so I felt like I was pitching to myself. I mean, pitching against me. I thought I was on the mound because I had his motion down perfectly. I had what he did when he marked off the spots where the guys would bump the ball, and his little grunting thing. But he was, I didn't have a lot of success until his last year pitching. I think I hit a grand slam off him, and I ran around the bases pretty fast. It was like in the 1st inning or something. And when I was in Baltimore, and then after that, I come up in the 3rd inning, and I was leading off, and I said, "Well, I'm going to get one in the ribs now." And he was warming up, and his last warm-up pitch, he kind of pulled something on his side, so he had to get taken out of the game. I'm like, "Whew, made that one all right." But there were some guys that were tough, and there's some guys that were. Not the toughest. I get asked, who's the toughest pitcher? Charlie Huff, the knuckleball guy. Charlie Huff. I said, yeah, I couldn't hit that knuckleball. I said, swear to God, I danced all over the place when I tried to swing at it. It was crazy. But there was some good guys. Charlie Huff was tough, and then Brian Harvey was the toughest reliever. My God, he was really good. He was really, really tough. There were some guys that Dave Steeb, he was nasty. Especially in the cold weather, foul the ball off your ankle. My God, it was like 20 degrees or something like that in Old Exhibition Stadium. He was tough, but I faced a lot of good guys, and the umpires too. They teach you things sometimes, and they were good guys. I never got thrown out of a game, and I had some disagreements with some of them. But I remember this. Tom Seaver was pitching for his 300th win at Yankee Stadium, and so I get up my first at bat, and it was an old-time umpire behind the plate. And the first pitch, I swear to God, it was at least 6 inches off the plate, outside, the first pitch. And he goes, strike. And I just looked, and I never looked at the umpire, and I said, so that's how far we're going today, huh? And he takes his mask off. He comes around the catcher, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, rookie, that's Tom Seaver on the mound." I said, "I got it. I got it." In other words, show a little respect. I said, "I got it. I got it." You know what I mean? So that's what you got to deal with. You're a rookie. That's Tom Seaver. I get you. So what I do, I get right up on the plate. Now he's going to have to hit me for him to throw a ball now, for me not to swing at it. But, he pitched a complete game that day and beat us like 6-0 or something like that.
Not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. Pags, you mentioned the knuckleball. Of course, Bob Uecker said the way you catch a knuckleball, right, as a catcher, is you let it hit the ground and stop rolling, and then you pick it up.
Yeah. I swear, one time, I don't know who the pitcher was. Might have been Wakefield with Boston. I swear, he told me one, it went up. I turned to the umpire, and he was strike. I said, "Did that ball go up?" Said, "I don't know. I couldn't tell where it was." I said, "But you call it a strike." But, I tried on the plate, off the plate, up in the box, back in the box, big bat, small bat. Oh, those guys were tough. Donnie would kill those guys. Because when you throw the ball, I like the ball down. Donnie liked the ball up. You throw it up, it doesn't dance as much. When you throw it down, it dances all over the place. So I should have swung the ball up more often.
Yeah. And yet there are no knuckleballers now. It's a lost art.
Yeah, they probably couldn't put any analytics around it. That's why they don't have them anymore. They can be effective. Those guys can pitch a long time, but they got to throw the ball over the plate. Nuxie was Phil Negro was I played with my first year. There was a couple of years, but he would throw the ball, and with 2 strikes, he'd throw it, and it looked like he charged the plate. And so I thought that was kind of odd. So, between innings, I went over there and I said, "Hey, Nuxie," I said, "Aren't you worried if the guy swings and you're charging the plate?" He goes, "Oh, he's not going to hit that one." He knew that ball wasn't going to be a strike. That was my dancer. He goes, "That's going to bounce." He goes, "I knew he wasn't going to hit that. I was just looking for the rebound off the catcher." I said, "Oh, okay." I'm like, God, he's throwing it and running towards the plate. I'm thinking he's going to get killed. But he was one of the other great professionals that I had. Don Baylor was probably one of the best teammates I ever had. He was the greatest. Heck, he threatened me every day. Every day. "Listen, kid, is there some reason why you can't take that guy out at second base?" I said, "Huh? Bobby Grinch, he's a big guy. I just didn't get there late. If I don't see you knock the next guy in left field, I'm going to knock you out." "Yes, sir." That's all he said for the whole year. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." That 2-0 pitch, I want to see you. Don't foul it down the third base line. Either swing and miss, pull it foul, or hit it out of the park. Got it? If you don't, I'm going to knock you out. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Don Baylor was great. I loved him.
Pags, we are very appreciative of your time. I have one more for you before I hand off to my esteemed hosts. Superstitions. You always hear about players with their superstitions. Did you have any? And if so, what were they?
Well, the superstition that I had, I don't know if it was a superstition, but it was, I always wore a red ribbon under my uniform on my jock strap. Always, my grandmother gave it to me. She goes, "You keep the evil eye away." You know what I mean? The malarkey. With this, it'll protect you. So, nobody really saw it. And then one of the clubhouse guys, "What the heck is that on you?" I said, "Don't touch that ribbon. It's a small little bow ribbon, red ribbon." So it wasn't feminine. It was just keep away the evil spirits.
On your jock strap.
On my jock strap. I didn't know where else to put it. But it worked.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.
Pags, you're a valued member of the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. We're very appreciative of your time, and you're the best.
Thank you, Eddie. And I really ought to make it next year. This year, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I was helping up some more veterans from our military, which I'm proud to do. But I'll be there next year at the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. I can't wait.
We look forward to Mike. Yeah, and Jeff and I, who haven't met you in person, will look forward to meeting you in person. And this has been a very special episode, only the second episode of.
Really?
Yes. Huh. So you are, second episode of the NYS Halls of Fame podcast. Pags, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us, and we thank Dom Scala also, who had to leave early, but this has been an absolute pleasure. Rennie, thank you for your excellence in obtaining these guests, because they are amazing.
And thank you guys. You're the best.
Oh, thank you. Keep up the good work.